Step into the realm of daring ideas and transformative dialogues. This is Voices from the Edge, the podcast that pushes boundaries and ventures beyond the ordinary. Here, we confront the crucial issues that shape our world today. From the heartbeat of community challenges to the untold chronicles of leadership. From the relentless pursuit of social justice to the essential lessons in safety and lifelong learning. Voices from the Edge takes you to the crossroads of change. Because the edge is not just a boundary, it's where growth happens. It's where the real conversations begin. So lean in, be inspired, and let's explore what lies beyond the edge.
And joining us again today is our resident expert on everything training in the vocational education and training sector, the marvelous Marc Miles. Marc, how are you?
It's time once again for Insights on Learning with Marc Miles. Marc Miles is a nationally recognized expert in trainer development, author of the highly acclaimed book, Creating Transformation, and a driving force in transforming adult education across Australia. If you've ever delivered training, Marc's probably helped someone do it better.
I'm really well, Tom. Thanks for having me as usual. Always a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. It's a rainy, miserable day in Perth. Hard to believe because apparently we are sunshine and buttercups every other day. What's it like in the lovely Gold Coast for you?
Fine and sunny, and it's meant to be winter, but it actually feels like a nice, warm summer's day. So there you go, Tom. Ha ha.
I'll remind you of that when you get your afternoon hailstorms in about December, shall we?
Sounds good.
Love it. All right. Now, Marc, I've brought you on. We got you back because, you're good value, but also you've got some pretty good, unique insights on perhaps how to manage difficult students and difficult students' situations and how to remain professional when having these difficult conversations that you may encounter with students. So tell me, what sort of, over your breadth of experience as a trainer, facilitator, what sort of situations have been difficult for you?
It's a very broad question, but I like it. So I guess for me, whenever I see a student that may be acting up, so to speak, I guess I would say there's two types, or maybe even three. One that may be just pushing the boundaries a little bit and maybe being the class clown. And then you have the other person that's got a lot of stuff going on in life and their threshold is already a little bit, how do I put it, low, and they're very sensitive to anything and everything that's going on and they take things very personally. The third type I would say is somebody that's there, but they're forced to be there and they would rather be anywhere but there. Does that kind of make sense, Tom?
Oh, absolutely. Let's start with the third one, the last one first, because I can definitely relate to that.
So in my game and my world, I often refer to them, the people that are forced to be there, we often call them hostages. And we call them, people that have literally been dragged there kicking and screaming, and you have to handcuff them to the chair. They are an interesting entity, and I would say that those are the people that fundamentally for them, respect is a really, really important thing, and they have to feel respected. They have to feel like they matter, and it's kind of like all humans in general. They have to feel like they're respected, they matter, and ideally, if you can create an environment where everybody's learning from each other, again, there's common sense, but in the world of training, we often throw out these ideas of, let's all be collaborative, let's celebrate diversity, but it's not about just knowing it, it's about implementing it. So for me, I want to be doing things like getting all my learners as early as possible in my lesson, regardless of what the topic is. I want to get them setting goals. I want them creating a future for themselves in the topic. I want to also be setting ground rules and getting everybody to agree to the ground rules. I want to, after each activity or each thing that we do, be having moments of self-reflection. I want to have moments where we're sharing with each other, what are we learning, what are we discovering, and how are we going to use the information going forward. Because what I've realized with this whole difficult behavior conversation is the more overt you get, the more you lose the game. And what I mean by that is if it's getting to the point where you're having to have one-on-one conversations, that's a very downstream effect of not putting things in place upstream. Does that kind of make sense, Tom?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love what
Go
you
ahead.
said about
Yeah.
ground rules to start with, because a lot of people tend to forget them, but it doesn't give you anything to go back when you see, I don't know, strange, bizarre behaviours starting to enter in, or just non-professional behaviours entering into the classroom. If you haven't laid down the rules, you can't expect people to, I don't know, follow the rules.
No, not at all. And so there's two mantras that I tell myself. And I guess, again, I'm a little bit unique and different. But there's literally, and if I'm having, if my threshold is a little bit low, I will literally write them on a sticky note. But my mantras I write down are, number one, I'm going to write down, are you okay? And that is going to be a reminder to me that somebody in my room, if they're misbehaving, so to speak, maybe something else is going on for them that I don't know about, right? So are they okay? And that's a sense of, I'm not going to get judgy. I'm not going to correct them. I'm not going to jump to conclusions. I'm just literally going to be in that place of concern. Are you okay? The second one I'm going to have is a little bit of an escalation, which is, are you finished? Are you finished? What I mean by that is many times in my life as a trainer, presenter, coach, facilitator, is I've had many people in a room try to test me and, try and argue against me or do different things and try and get me off point, so to speak, or misbehave or whatever. What trainers often don't realize is that the more you react, the more the situation escalates. So I like to have the mantra in my head of going, okay, are you finished? Are you finished? Like Tom or Bill, are you finished right now? Because we've got other things to do. Now, whether I overtly say that or not, I'm just going to have that kind of pause button in my brain going, okay, are they finished? Are they finished? Are they finished? And I'm just going to just be as composed as I can, knowing that if I react, they're just going to keep coming at me. Okay. The third thing I write down is I don't know the full story. I don't know the full story. And that allows me to not jump to conclusions or jump to any assumptions, because as humans, what do? We immediately go, oh, he's late because blah, blah, or he's being a whatever, or she's being a whatever, because I've already made the assumption or the decision in my head that X, Y, Z is going on. So a very simple story around this is I once had a student in my class that was texting a lot. And I kind of went over to them and I sort of, I did the old, you're being a difficult student, you're not texting, you're not concentrating. And then he said, oh, mate, could you back off a little bit? My dog has actually just passed away and died and I'm not in a great place. And it was in that moment, I'm like, I had to check myself. And it was in that moment I go, how dare I ever have the audacity to jump to a conclusion of they're being negative, they're being intentionally negative. So from that moment onwards, I just, as much as possible, stay in that headspace of curiosity. And I know that as soon as I get out of that space of curiosity and I speak to the person and not the behavior, that's when things go downhill. So I guess for me, I want to set up an environment where we celebrate each other, where we actually learn from ourselves, learn from each other. We have the tight ground rules. So hypothetically, if something is going wrong or something's going different, I can say, Bill, are you okay? We actually set a ground rule around being on time and, getting here at 8:30. I've just noticed that you're coming regularly around 10, 15 minutes late. Bill, are you okay? Is there something going on for you that I need to know about? And that for me is like that's the first step to rectify behavior, is the kind of way that I sort of see the whole conversation. And even when it's getting to a very escalated position, I would say, yeah, it's let's have a chat outside. Bill, are you okay? You seem to have a challenge with one of the other learners. Oh, well, this is the story. Okay, great. Well, Bill, probably we need to sort that out before we can go back into the room, because that's kind of impacting everybody else right now. And my aim as a trainer and facilitator is to get everybody across the line, give you guys the skills and knowledge, and to be able to achieve what you guys are looking to achieve, because you wrote that down as one of your goals, didn't you, Bill? So that's kind of the way that I phrase my, I guess, corrective conversations. Does that kind of make sense? Is there anything you wanted to pull from there, Tom?
No, that's good. I just had the other day a lady who came into my class and she said, I know you'll understand because I've got you've got a dog and you've shown us a photo of your dog. But she said, I don't know if I'm going to be here very long in the room because I had to put my dog down last night and blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, absolutely, that's a thing. Things go on in people's lives and it gets impacted on them before they come to class, and then they obviously take it into class. But then there are also some real issues that do happen in class. I liked what you said about occasionally taking someone outside the classroom. I think but people think that's a drastic move. I think that's actually showing the person respect. So you're not having those conversations in front of their peers. I think that makes a lot of sense and can actually solve things pretty easily. Just with student behaviour, which is problematic, I've always believed that getting on top of it early and not letting it fester is the key to actually sorting the issues out. Are you on that sort of wavelength as well?
I am. It's a really tricky one to come up with blanket statements, and absolutely, I believe in taking care of things as early as possible. I believe in setting the ground rules as early as possible, and setting the expectations. The thing is, what I like to do is essentially hold the frame. And what I mean by that is I like to make sure that there's structure in the room and people know that some things are acceptable and things are just not acceptable. And so for me, having that phrase in my head, are you finished? So being able to just say to people, look, right now, what you're doing, are you finished? Because we need to move on and we've got a lot to cover and we've got a lot of things that the entire class needs to look at and we need to get through today. And so I know that there could be a lot of specific behaviors, but for me, over time with ground rules, I've just like I've been very proactive in my ground rules. I got like my set 11 to 15 ground rules that I've added to over the years based on the scenarios that I've had in the past, right? So I've ever had something that has been destructive. Like, for example, if I played music in a workshop, one time I had a student that decided to play their own music. And I was like, okay. Or I had students that the phone would ring and they would literally answer the phone seated in the room while I'm talking. I'm like, okay, that's new. So from those incidents, I put in new ground rules, such as if you're going to take a call, take it outside. If you, for me, as we've sort of said, it's like the lack of ground rules gets you in trouble. Now, the only thing I'm sort of saying, how do I put it? The thing is, what I've noticed is as soon as you go overt, you can have the drama or the situation of breaking rapport in the room. And so, for example, when I have yelled or got upset at people, that's when it sort of created an discomfort in the room. So what I like to be doing is really, and I know it sounds a little bit academic and theoretical, but I do operate off behavioralist learning principles. So I do really love to acknowledge what I want and acknowledge if I can say the shit out of it. So if people are coming late back from breaks, I'm going to say, thank you so much, everyone that's come back from breaks. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm just going to allow a little bit of lateness the first time, but the second time, guys, we're about to go to break, but when we come back at exactly this time, I'm going straight into the content. If you're not back on time, you may miss it, right? So for me, I'm gradually escalating the consequence for them. If somebody is being, how do I put it, violent, aggressive, or anything like that, absolutely, it's my mentor and coach, he said, you should never sacrifice a group for the sake of one individual. And I do still then come back and go, all right, what's going on for this person that's causing them to be acting like this? Because there must be something that I'm missing. And just try and come from that place. But if I need to have a hard conversation, absolutely, I'm going to have a hard one. And just let them know right now, the way you're behaving, it's not going to get you to the goals that you're looking for, or the goal that your employer wants for you, or maybe what we're trying to create in this environment right now. Do you feel like you can stay in the game, or do you think another way of studying could be more beneficial for you?
Yeah. All right. I want to talk about occasionally, for whatever reasons, trainers may, they may contribute by being highly reactionary to students, or maybe a bit sensitive to students, or on the flip side, completely insensitive to students and their needs. But some of the worst behaviours I've ever seen or heard about, they haven't happened in my classroom, but I've heard about them. Things like, one of the trainers I've worked with has had a chair thrown at them. I've heard of two students who've literally had a stand-up brawl in the classroom where the trainer had to evacuate other students, but other students then became involved in the brawl. Students who have literally, lost their composure. We'll say that, lost their composure, and have been screaming abuse in the classroom at the trainer. And situations a bit like that, as well as situations where students have become upset and they're actually crying or weeping in front of other students. First of all, at what stage should you escalate your actions and think about perhaps removing students from the classroom environment?
So I think a big part of it is situational awareness. and noticing that potentially things are building up. I guess for me, before it even got to that point, if I'm noticing things, I'm calling a break. And I'm getting everyone out of the room, and then I'm potentially keeping those people concerned into the room while everyone else is on a break.
Yeah.
And so I may approach it like that. But for me, if I'm noticing that there's a shift in the matrix, so to speak, I want to, everyone's safety is really, really important. And one interesting area that we're sort of going into, though, is sort of crowd control and people management. And I'm going to be blunt for a second and say, are trainers actually taught this? And I would potentially say no. But yeah, I think the crying thing is absolutely something that the trainer themselves probably needs to look in the mirror on and think about potentially why are they causing situations where a student would feel distraught enough that they would cry. I think aggression is something, or verbal abuse. I think that's when, you call a break and you say, the way you're talking right now, it's just not appropriate. Being screamed at, again, I'd be calling a break and saying, it looks like you've got a lot going on right now. It looks like, this situation's just causing a lot of upset for you. And if I'm honest, I would say that my allegiance still lies to the majority, not the minority. And I would, if I could, get another admin person or support person or secretary or a manager, I'm going to call in a third-party person and say, manager, could you have a chat to Mary over here? Because Mary needs some support right now. And, it'd be awesome if you just sit with Mary and just have a chat and, sort of approach it that way. I think when we try and sort of mix the teaching role inside a crisis management role, I think that's when we're trying to do too much in one moment as a trainer, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. The best, I remember once in Melbourne, my most challenging student was a student that every point I would make would react, and it'd be like teeing off on a golfing tee every time I actually said something, and he challenged me in front of the whole class, and I would present facts back because, diffuse the argument, right? But no, that just escalated things. And I remember at the end of the day, I rang my manager because, of course, we were training fairly remotely, so you're the only person on site. And I said, this student, it's the strangest student I've ever had. Just every time I try and counter things, it just throws fuel on the fire. And he said, he gave me a lot of confidence. He said, have a go tomorrow. If he acts up again, just remove him. Just remove him. You've got my backing. And I felt so relieved I had that. But I said, I think I can manage it. I've come up with a strategy, which is every other student in the world you try and get engagement with, and you try and build engagement. I said, I think I'm going to try and disengage with this student. And it actually worked for him. And at the end of the course, he thanked me and et cetera, which was bizarre. But anyhow, but yeah, sometimes knowing that the people above you in a training organization have your back and support you is the difference between putting up with really poor behavior, which can affect the whole group, and maybe having the confidence that you can actually, manage it in the way you see fit. So that was a situation for me, but I've seen plenty of other trainers who don't feel like that they have management support in making those decisions. And let's be honest, it's classroom management.
It is, yeah. Another piece around that is digital literacy. And not to take it too far off topic, but for example, if someone turns up in a class and they just do not have the levels, it's always good to have the backing from management to be able to say to a student, look, right now where you're at with your digital literacy, you may not be able to stay on track with the course and complete everything. You may want to exit, build up your skills, and then come back when, but you've got to be able to have the confidence that management's going to back you on that decision.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, I'm one of those strange people that believes that a trainer or facilitator should never, ever lose control of a class. And realistically, you're the person in charge of the class. So it's entirely, if a class, you've lost control of the class, you don't look at the class, you're trying to get that mirror and self-reflect back on what you could have done better to manage a situation. But I know of trainers that work in, again, fairly remote locations. Usually they're the one person on site. What do you think trainers should do when they feel that their physical safety is actually in jeopardy by a situation that's happened in the classroom? It's a tough one, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It's. I'm just processing in my head because, as I was saying to you jokingly before I came on camera, I've just been to martial arts this morning, so I'm just thinking about.
I know your answer. Beat them up.
Yes, put them in their place, so to speak. So, I guess at the end of the day, it does come through the principles of de-escalation and the principles of force continuum. I don't really want to go there, but essentially, if you are feeling like your safety is a concern, well, I mean, we'll throw the WHS principles into it. That ultimately, your own safety is your priority, and I would consider it just like a unexpected threat from the environment there. I think as a trainer, you've got to take care of the sheep, and if you're a shepherd, and you've got to, make sure everybody's feeling safe. And that's why, as much as possible, I'm looking to call a break and remove everybody from a dangerous situation, so to speak. But if somebody, again, I just want to come back to it's like an iceberg. The emotion is what we're seeing on top, or the outburst is what we're seeing on top. The conversation becomes, are you okay? But if there's violence involved, then it's call for somebody else, or potentially it's remove them from the situation. I don't really know what else would be available, but if it's someone that is in the group and they completely disagree, like not agreeing to playing by the rules, then that's really an unhealthy situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh dear. We could talk all day, but we probably won't, because if I started to say, what was your most difficult situation, I think we'd open a Pandora's box, and maybe we shouldn't go there today.
I think for me, my most difficult situations have been great learning experiences. And in my book, Creating Transformation, I actually have an episode called The Big Grumpy Guy. And it's very similar to what you described in your situation, your episode there. And I describe how I handled it, how I didn't handle it as effectively as I could have, but what I learned from the situation. And essentially, I find the trainers that don't learn from situations are the ones that continue to encounter those situations. So for me, if I made a student cry, hypothetically, if I ever did that, I think I haven't done it today. I don't think. Well, actually, I'm going to be completely honest. I have. Now, the reason I did was I wasn't aware of this person, and they had some anxiety and some panic issues going on. Now, the challenge was, though, that we only had about 3 or 4 people in the class. Now, this person's anxiety levels were quite high even before coming into the room. And I had an unavoidable situation where I needed to make her go first in an activity. But the thing was that she was a very strong reflector. Now, if anyone's familiar with the personality types, they like to watch other people go first. They don't like to be put on the spot. So she didn't feel comfortable. She stood up and she was a little bit teary and she walked out of the room. But the thing was, after I learned those things about personality size, after I realized how to actually show respect, how to set up activities well, all these kind of things that we do in the background, and yourself as well, we do in the background, we do it unconsciously because we know it works. And if we don't do it, then there's going to be dramas. So for me, I've got these things in place that mean that I don't really encounter difficult students. I don't really encounter aggression anymore. I don't really encounter people having emotional situations because the environment is so safe and everybody feels supported in that sense. And also, if you want to be part of my game, you got to play by my rules. And if you can't, that's okay. But my learning environment may not be the best one for you. And that's kind of the mentality I have. And that seems to generally work as long as I stay in that place of curiosity and know that, there could be things going on for this person I just may not know about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not surprising that those who fail to learn from those situations tend to be the people that have the repeat events over and over and over again. All right, we might leave it there today. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Mark, both on air and off. And I will leave you to recover from your martial arts this morning. And but I do look forward to speaking to you again, as always, soon.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks for listening to Voices from the Edge. If you like what we are doing, like the episode in the podcast, subscribe so you won't miss any future episodes and leave a positive review.